Have you ever stopped to think that there are powerful forces within your reach, just waiting for you to take action to activate them? And what if I told you that the simple act of fasting can attract God's attention in a way you never imagined? It seems unlikely, doesn't it? After all, we are so accustomed to what the world teaches us about health, diets, and eating that we forget that true fasting is not about the body, but about the spirit. In this video, you will discover what the Bible truly teaches about fasting, and more importantly, the two fatal mistakes that most people make when fasting. Mistakes that can completely nullify the power of this practice. If you've tried fasting before and didn't feel results, or simply want to know how to use fasting to draw closer to God, this video is your next step. Get ready to reevaluate everything you know about fasting and stay until the end, because what you'll learn here can surprisingly transform your spiritual life. When we look at fasting, in light of what was said, we realize that it is not simply a deprivation of food. Human beings were intricately designed by God, with the body needing fuel to function. But what's fascinating about fasting is that it goes beyond the physical. It's a way of signaling to the divine that we are ready for something greater. Imagine a finely tuned engine that, for a moment, pauses to recalibrate and work even more efficiently. That is exactly what happens with the body and mind during fasting. They stop for spiritual readjustment. During the fasting process, the body feels the lack of food, of course, but what it is really asking for is a different kind of nourishment. And that food comes directly from God in the form of communion and reflection. A practical example you can adopt is starting with short fasts. How about skipping one meal a day and dedicating that time to prayer? In this way, the body and spirit align, and you realize that hunger is not just physical, but also for something greater. Fasting, as seen, is not about what we stop eating, but about what we are ready to receive. And by depriving ourselves of something as fundamental as food, our connection with the divine intensifies. This prepares us for the next point, what the Bible teaches us about this ancient yet profoundly powerful practice. In the Bible, fasting is portrayed not only as a spiritual practice, but as a direct instruction from God at various moments in history. The Jewish people, for example, had Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, a day dedicated to fasting and repentance. It was not optional. It was a clear command for everyone. Through this act of abstention, the faithful connected with the sacred, demonstrating repentance and seeking reconciliation with the Creator. In this context, fasting becomes a channel of purification and restoration. Moreover, fasting in the Bible was often performed at critical moments. Think, for example, of Esther and the people of Israel, who fasted together for 3 days before she interceded with the king to save her people. The lesson here is clear. Fasting not only strengthens the individual spirit, but also unites entire communities in search of divine solutions to impossible challenges. If you're facing a big problem, why not gather friends or family for a group fast, seeking guidance and divine intervention? Lastly, biblical fasting is about more than just deprivation. It is a declaration that we are willing to set aside our earthly needs to achieve a greater spiritual goal. And it is interesting to see how the Bible instructs us to practice this act humbly, without fanfare, as we will see later in Jesus' teachings on this practice. Jesus, in his teachings, brought a new perspective on fasting. For him, the issue was not just the abstention from food, but the intention behind it. In Matthew 6:16-18, Jesus advises that when we fast, we should not make a show of it for everyone to see and recognize our sacrifice. He warns us against the hypocrisy of those who fast to be admired by others, emphasizing that fasting is an intimate practice between the believer and God. In other words, the true value of fasting is not in how it is perceived by others, but in how it is lived in silence and devotion. This teaching from Jesus invites us to reflect on our motivations. What are we seeking when we fast? The approval of others or a deeper connection with God? Jesus encourages us to wash our face, anoint our head, and carry on with our lives discreetly, without trying to demonstrate our spirituality. A practical example of this would be fasting during a normal week without announcing it on social media or to friends. This silent fast allows us to live this discipline without the distractions of human recognition. The focus then is not on performance, but on the heart. By following these teachings, we are led to a purer form of fasting, where the reward does not come from the admiration of others, but from God's direct response to our prayers. This is the type of fast Jesus invites us to practice, and it is deeply connected to the next step, the spiritual challenges and rewards of this practice. Fasting, like any other spiritual discipline, comes with its challenges. It is not an easy task, especially for those who are accustomed to a regular eating routine. However, it is precisely in these moments of difficulty that the true value of fasting is revealed. The body, when it feels the lack of food, begins to cry out for physical sustenance. But it is at this point that the mind and spirit step in, seeking another kind of sustenance, connection with the divine. Physical hunger becomes a constant reminder of our dependence on God, and this is one of the greatest lessons of fasting. Those who dedicate themselves to fasting soon realize that the challenge is not just physical, but mental. Dealing with anxiety, cravings, and even external temptations, such as food advertisements, can be a major obstacle. However, these moments are opportunities for spiritual strengthening. It's like running a marathon. At first, your legs hurt, your breathing becomes difficult, but as you move forward, your body adapts and your mind becomes stronger. For those starting out with fasting, a practical tip would be to begin with short fasts, like skipping breakfast and dedicating that time to meditation or prayer. The challenges of fasting are real, but the spiritual rewards are even greater. Each time we overcome physical hunger and focus on the spiritual purpose, we are training our souls to deal with greater difficulties. This discipline prepares us to face life's problems with more patience and faith. And when we practice this discipline consistently, we come to see fasting not as a sacrifice, but as a powerful tool for spiritual growth. And this leads us to another important point: the power that exists in fasting with others. Fasting is a deeply personal experience, but when done in a group, its impact can be even more powerful. There is something special about knowing that other people are walking the same spiritual journey, facing the same challenges, and seeking the same answers. In the Bible, we see clear examples of collective fasting, such as the people of Israel fasting together with Esther for 3 days, seeking protection and salvation. When we fast with others, whether in church or with friends, we form a support network that strengthens us and keeps us firm in moments of weakness. This shared experience creates a sense of unity and common purpose. Imagine fasting with someone who is facing the same difficulties as you, someone with whom you can talk and share your struggles. This not only alleviates the weight of discipline, but also intensifies a sense of community. A practical example would be to create a fasting group where everyone shares their spiritual goals and prays together for a specific purpose. This exchange of experiences strengthens bonds and increases the effectiveness of prayers, because as Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, there He will be. Fasting in a group does not mean, however, that spiritual privacy is lost. The act of fasting is still between you and God, but the mutual support of others can be the necessary encouragement to move forward. The group offers accountability, ensuring that you remain firm even when temptations arise. And when the fast is over, there is shared joy, collective celebration of a spiritual goal achieved. Now let's understand the next point: how the purpose of fasting can transform this experience. Fasting without a clear purpose can turn this practice into mere food deprivation. But when there is a defined intention, fasting takes on profound meaning. In the Bible, fasting was always done with a specific goal, whether to seek protection, divine guidance, or repentance. Purpose is what guides the heart and mind during the fasting period, keeping the focus on what truly matters. That's why before starting any fast, it's essential to ask yourself, why am I fasting? Write down this reason, keep it visible, and return to it whenever you feel weak. A practical example would be fasting for an important decision that is coming up. Maybe you're seeking guidance on a career change or a delicate family situation. Dedicating this time to fasting and prayer can bring clarity and direction. When you fast with purpose, your mind aligns with that intention, and the distractions of everyday life become less impactful. Fasting stops being just about what you're giving up and transforms into what you're spiritually seeking to achieve. This focus on purpose also helps to maintain commitment. When physical hunger intensifies or discouragement begins to set in, purpose is what sustains you. You are not fasting just to fast, but for something greater, something worth the sacrifice. This mindset transforms fasting into a powerful act of faith. And speaking of power, the numbers throughout the Bible reveal the importance of different types of fasts and their transformative results. The numbers associated with fasting in the Bible offer a rich insight into the impact of this practice. A striking example is the one-day fast observed by the Jews on Yom Kippur. This day, dedicated to repentance and atonement, carried profound spiritual weight. A one-day fast may seem short to some, but its meaning is much greater. It teaches us that it's not about how long we fast, but the intensity of the purpose we bring to each moment of that fast. For those starting out, this is a great starting point. A 24-hour fast focused on prayer and meditation. Paul's fast, which lasted 3 days without food or water after his encounter with Jesus, is one of the most extreme and transformative examples. This experience symbolizes a complete spiritual renewal, where Paul underwent total transformation in his life. A 3-day fast can be a great challenge, but also a milestone of renewal, where you can seek the resolution of complex problems or liberation from something that is holding you back. Over these days, dependence on God intensifies, and spiritual clarity becomes more apparent. And of course, we cannot forget to mention the impressive 40-day fast of Jesus, mentioned in Luke 4:2. This number, so significant, not only shows physical endurance, but also spiritual dedication. The 40-day fast is seen as an epic journey of preparation for a great purpose. Although most of us are not ready for something so long, this example shows us that fasting, regardless of duration, has the power to prepare us for great challenges and spiritual achievements. And so these numbers connect us to something greater, the spiritual impact of different fasts. And so these numbers connect us to something greater, the spiritual impact of different fasts. But what truly stands out is how each fast, regardless of its length or intensity, holds a unique power to bring us closer to God. Whether it's a one-day fast like the one observed during Yom Kippur, or the 40-day fast that Jesus undertook, the key lies in understanding the spiritual significance behind the practice. Fasting is not about deprivation, but about recalibration, both of the body and the spirit, allowing us to be more receptive to divine guidance and blessings. Now, as you contemplate beginning your own fasting journey, it's essential to recognize that every fast is a step towards spiritual growth. The numbers, whether it's 1 day, 3 days, or 40, serve as reminders of the endurance, faith, and spiritual strength we can develop when we commit ourselves to seeking God in this way. No matter where you are on your spiritual path, fasting offers an opportunity to deepen your connection with the divine, to hear God's voice more clearly, and to align your heart with His purpose. As you move forward, consider this. Fasting is not just a religious tradition, it's a powerful tool for personal and spiritual transformation. With the right intention and purpose, your fast can open doors to blessings, wisdom, and a deeper relationship with God.